Now we're going to see how to use se with direct and indirect object pronouns. But before we do so, we need to review a little bit what the concept of direct and indirect object is. And also, we are going to introduce a new concept to this topic. Okay, so let's review. So, for example, to avoid repeating ourselves, we can say things such as, I write to Christian, and then replace that with a pronoun. We can say, I write to him. And if we have the phrase, I write a letter to Christian, then I can replace also the word the letter with a pronoun. I write it to him. So we use those pronouns not to repeat ourselves. In Spanish, we're going to use pronombres de objeto directos, POD, and pronombres de objeto indirecto, POI. So remember this. Pronombre de objeto directo is always the thing, and pronombre de objeto indirecto is always the person who receives the thing. So, for example, in the phrase escribo a Cristian, in Spanish, it can be very tricky. If you don't use it well, or if you use a direct object pronoun or indirect object pronoun, you can alter the meaning of the phrase altogether and how we understand it. So when we say escribo a Cristian can either be direct or indirect object. How so? Here, Christian is the direct object if he receives the action of the verb. So, for example, if I say escribo a Cristian, I can replace a Cristian by a direct object pronoun. So, Christian being a male, the direct object would be lo. But if you say lo escribo, it means that you are writing on Christian's skin, that you are directly writing on his body. It is grammatically correct, but I don't think that's what you mean, right? So how should we say it so that it has the correct meaning? So it would be le escribo. In this case, the le, which is an indirect object pronoun, will be replacing Christian. And that would mean that I am writing to him instead of on him. So as you can see, a change in direct and indirect object pronouns can alter the meaning of a phrase. Now let's take the phrase, escribo una carta a Cristian. So this phrase has two objects. First, Cristian, the person receiving the action, and then una carta, the object, the other object. So una carta is the direct object here. It is the thing that you are writing. So the action of the verb is directly done on that object. And Christian is the indirect object, the one receiving the object, that is, the letter. So in order to replace this phrase with direct and indirect object pronouns, here's the list that discusses the direct and indirect object pronouns that you might remember from the last unit when we dealt with this subject. So do you remember what questions can you ask yourself to know what the direct object and indirect objects are? A direct object is the person or the thing that receives the action, the effect of the verb. And the questions that you need to ask yourself to see what the direct object is what or whom? What did I write? Una carta. Una carta then is the direct object. An indirect object answers the questions for what, to what, of whom, to whom, and it accompanies the direct object. So in this case, to whom did I write the letter? To Christian. He is the receiver of the object. So a Christian would be the indirect object. So let's replace in these examples the pronouns. In order for us to do so, we need to understand the structure or the order in which we're going to place each pronoun within a sentence. So in Spanish, when we have direct and indirect object pronouns in the same phrase, we need to follow an order. The order is objeto indirecto, then objeto directo, and then verbo. First, we will replace with the indirect object pronoun as we see in the formula. So, to him, the indirect object is le. So we're going to say, le escribo una carta. Now, let's replace una carta with the direct object pronoun. That would be la. The direct object pronoun for carta, which is feminine, is la. So we would end up with le la escribo. Does it sound well? Not quite, right? Sounds a little bit awful. In Spanish, we cannot say le la escribo. It sounds very bad. So this is another rule. When we have le or les, we cannot use it with a direct object. So we're going to switch from le or les to se. And voila, that is the se for the direct and indirect object pronouns. So in the example, we would say, se la escribo. Like, to him, it I write. Se la escribo. We cannot say le la escribo. All right? So in this case, the se would be replacing the indirect object pronoun le, meaning to Christian. Se la escribo. Escribo una carta a Christian. ¿A quién se la escribes? Se la escribo a él. So in that way, you're going to sound more natural.